We bid you welcome on this first Sunday of the new church year. Like the Roman god Janus, we gather with part of us looking backwards and part of us looking forwards. We gather on the edge of the new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, mindful of days gone by. We gather on the cusp of this new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for what lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrows and tomorrows and tomorrows. We invite you to join our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings and beginnings. We bid you welcome. Come, let us worship together.
Please take a moment to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. Grab a candle and a way to light it so you can join in the chalice lighting at home. Also, we hope you'll participate in the service by typing in the comments section when we invite you to do so. Now, whether you are lighting a candle or the inner chalice of your heart, let us kindle our flames with the words of Jennifer Grayson. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change this world. I now invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, "I carry the flame" in whatever town or city you are joining us from. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the UU Church of Berkeley. My name is Deborah Schmidt. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am your worship associate this morning. This is a welcoming congregation, and we're always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. Whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. We usually have in-person worships on Sundays at 11 a.m., but during these days when we must shelter in place, we are worshiping together on Facebook Live and YouTube. We continue to work with staff and volunteers to improve the technical aspects of our virtual service. If you experience any technological difficulties during the live stream of this service, please send a message in the chat or email our tech team, and one of us will do our best to help you. Sometimes problems crop up with technology that we can't control. We hope to create space for all of us to connect deeply with the sacred and one another. Now, please join us in singing our opening song, a labor movement song, As We Come Marching, Marching. It's number 109 in the gray hymnal, if you have one at home.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 workshops gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle to for man. For they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Our starve as well as bodies, give us bread, but give us roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing their ancient song of bread. Small art and love and beauty, their grudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we come marching, marching, we bring the greater days. The rising of the women means the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler tend the toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Boyle. My pronouns are she, hers, hers, and I am happy to be the Director of Family Ministry here at UUCB. And this is a time for all ages. So if you're young or young at heart, get cozy, sit close, maybe cuddle a pet or a family member. And let's begin with the story of Chandra and Chuck and the butterfly. Chandra and Chuck were siblings who loved to take walks in the woods. They loved to walk under the trees, watching the sunlight dance in the leaves. They loved the rocks, the different gradient patterns. They loved to watch the birds fly. They even liked the little clicky-clack that insects make. One day in a forest, Chandra stopped suddenly as something fell from the tree in front of her. It was a peculiar object. You guys want to see? What on earth is that? Said Chandra. Chuck gasped. That's a cocoon, he said. A cocoon? Chandra asked. Yeah, Chuck said. It's a baby. Chuck, a baby? It doesn't look like a baby at all. A baby butterfly, Chuck said. Or, maybe a grown-up caterpillar? I'm not sure. But at school, I learned a butterfly starts its life as a teeny tiny caterpillar. As a teeny tiny caterpillar, it finds a good home on a leaf. It attaches itself to the leaf, and then once good and snug, it chomps and chomps and chomps and chomps and eats almost everything. It uses the energy from all the food it ate to weave a cocoon of silk around it. Now this is soft thread that wraps around the caterpillar like a magical pillow. For once in the cocoon, that's where the caterpillar transforms itself into a butterfly. Wow, said Chandra. Look, I see a tiny hole. Oh my goodness. Chuck, let's take it home. Let's watch it come out. And with that, the children took the cocoon home. Sure enough, the tiny hole grew bigger and bigger, and soon Chuck and Chandra watched one antenna pop out and another antenna pop out, and then slowly, bit by bit, pushing out its tiny body. This took hours. But suddenly, when it was almost done, when it had just a little bit of the cocoon left, it just stopped moving. The kids were really, really worried. So, they decided to help it. It can't die. It's almost there. It's not a butterfly yet. So, they took a pair of scissors and carefully snipped away the remains of a cocoon. And sure enough, the butterfly pulled itself out. But it still moved so slow, and its wings were wet, crumpled on its side, not in the air. The kids watched it, expecting the butterfly to straighten out and spread out its wings, expecting it to fly. but it stayed on the ground. Even showing the butterfly, teaching the butterfly about how butterflies fly, didn't help. It didn't fly ever on that day or any other day. It remained on the ground for all its life. Now, this is a sad story. But it's a sad story with an important message, an important moral. So you see, in their eagerness to help the butterfly to see its beautiful wings, the kids cut the cocoon open. Yet by doing this, they stopped the process of transformation in haste to get to their goal, in haste to see the beautiful butterfly before it was ready. The tiny cocoon and the energy the butterfly puts into building it and emerging from it is part of the process that prepares the butterfly's wings to fly. So, the moral of this story is that struggle is necessary for change. Even when it's hard, even when it's difficult, change is necessary. Because when we work together on building a more fair and just world, starting right here at UUCB, we know that we can't rush this process. We know that we can't take our bold vision and make it manifest right here, right now, without going through structural change. It's hard to change. It's hard to talk to each other about what we want, or it's hard to make a big decision because what we want so much in life is hard because we love each other. We want the best for each other. We're all in this together. So my friends, as our church looks for a brand new minister to lead us, we as a church are in this cocoon together right now. We're transforming. We're doing the important work of being together, thriving together, and bit by bit, we will emerge from that cocoon into the new world together. Blessed be.
Chalice Circles have been on a brief hiatus, but will be resuming and opening to new members at the end of this month. Recognizing our call to minister to each other and to the world, Chalice Circles provide a unique opportunity to engage in spiritual practice through deep listening. The intimacy of these groups enriches our lives with greater depth of meaning and connects us to a small community within the wider church. We invite you to enjoy the following video about UUCB Chalice Circles. Information on signing up is available in both the Week Ahead and the Beacon.
Oh, it's very important for the community. I think it's one of the most important programs within our community. And I think it's often overlooked.
The structure of our Chalice Circle is pretty formal. A person shares, others listen attentively, without crosstalk, without conversation back and forth. We are given in advance questions to reflect upon. So the topic, for instance, last week was forgiveness.
Deep listening isn't something our culture knows how to do very well. We often listen while we're getting ready to respond.
I would say that it's for new members and newcomers, it's a way to find a place of belonging. It's a way to sink in and get to hear other people's stories as well as to learn about yourself.
And what I learned in the Chalice Circle, which has been invaluable for me, is how to really listen.
I was stunned at how deeply I was affected by being listened to.
You are listening and witnessing, but you are not reacting.
When there is that formal structure in place, the person who is speaking is really freed up to explore their thoughts and feelings in a way that's not possible when someone else wants to ask a question.
And I remember when I first joined, I would kind of rehearse things that I would say. And then I learned to just sort of let go and just let what I was feeling and just come out. And so I sort of learned what my truth was.
But that's what deep listening is there's no requirement for you to jump in and have something to say or wait till they're finished. You can just sit and be with and witness with someone in a way that you can't anywhere else.
Sometimes I might find something out different about my story by sharing it. That, I think, is a wonderful experience too.
So chalice circles begin in the fall and end in the spring, so they follow the course of a church year. We meet every 2 weeks.
I get calmed and I get stretched beyond who I am, and I really, really appreciate that.
So it was a really profound way to get to know people, and it was an honor to bear witness to their stories and for them to listen to your stories.
We don't talk about these stories outside of Chalice Circle. That is part of our bond, part of our covenant to each other. We are getting more disconnected as a people, as human beings, and this is a place that can be very sacred and very special.
I think you should definitely join a Chalice Circle.
Talk to people who have been in chalice circles, ask them what it has meant to them. It's just an incredible way of getting close with people.
You know, we show each other our vulnerabilities. You know, we basically brush off the kinds of projections that can occur when you're just out in the world and you're real.
We now enter the time in our service that we make for our hearts and our spirits, for our cares and our concerns, for ourselves and one another. We lift up and hold the joys and sorrows that we each may be facing. During our time of silence this morning, if you're watching this service on Facebook, I invite you to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments. I invite us all to hold these cares in the compassionate embrace of this loving community. Please join me now in a time of meditation and insight. Like pendulums, we swing from hunger to hunger, from hunger for the one great truth, absolute, eternal, mystical, to hunger for simple, near-in, familiar truths that change as we change, that grow as we grow. Like pendulums, we swing from hunger for cosmic imperatives, commanding us to expand ourselves, to hunger for immediate and authentic inner promptings, urging us to be ourselves. We would be right with heaven, so we swing outward. We would fulfill our own heart, so we swing inward. We would grasp the holy and we would create ourselves. We have this dual hunger to serve the cosmos that draws us to become more than we would and to be our genuine selves, content with who and what we are. So we ride this pendulum in hunger for life. We ride from truth to truth, truth that calls us out and truths that call us in. And all because the gravity of life pulls across our hunger, never allowing us to stay on one side or the other, always moving us into new urgency for the wholeness that would bind both the cosmic and the personal. And so life pulls us, and we swing from truths to truths, from cosmos to self, from mystery to clarity, from out to in and back. It is our state to swing and to be drawn ever into another swing. This is the motion that makes ours a human life. May the great gravity of life, which pulls us along an unknown holy axis, never let the pendulums we are cease swinging. May it never cease until the truths we seek and the truths we are become one. Amen. And now let us join in singing together number 123, if you have it in a hymnal, our longtime favorite, Spirit of Life. Let's sing together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice, roots only close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Love and Ficuses by Angela Herrera. I used to have a ficus, a beautiful thing, bright green and leafy. But once a year I developed a horrible allergy to it and became ill. Once I moved it to a different window and watched its leaves drop. Turns out ficuses ancestors of the ancient fig, live in harmony with their environment. They like consistencies of light, water, air. Change sends them into a panic, and ficuses and their owners may occasionally become enemies for a while. A relationship is like that. It has good times and bad. A relationship bears fruit that will fall, bitter or sweet, into the hands of loved ones and passers-by. It takes in light, not of its own making, drinks from the living stream where it has set down roots. Dislocate it, disrupt its symbiosis, and you'll have some work to do. You'll see what withers and needs removing. Panic may set in, but don't despair. Let the leaves fall where they may. After the dramatic display, love and ficuses adapt.
We're just getting to know one another, so I'm not sure whether it will surprise you or not to learn that I'm a roller coaster junkie. The taller and faster, the better. Lap bars are always better than overhead systems and 5-point harnesses, no matter how fast the ride is. Hands in the air the entire time, and always sitting in the front row, no matter how much longer I have to wait to get there. Now, there are many different types of rides and attractions in amusement parks, as well as many different designs for roller coasters. On the coaster side of things, there are the ones that simply shoot you up into the air as high as possible, and then tip you over at their highest point and bring you right back down. Ideally with only a lap bar, of course. There are the ones that rely on what's called airtime, which is how much time you spend floating weightless as they go over the rise of a hill. The more total airtime, the better, of course. There are the all-steel coasters, which is the more modern-looking coaster. And there are the all-wood coasters, which frankly bang you around too much, and I've had to admit that my body just can't take them anymore. And there are also hybrid ones that are mostly built of wood but have a steel track for the coaster cars. Now, since all wood ones rely entirely on gravity to keep the cars down, and steel ones hold the wheels of the car and can tip it around more, the hybrid ones really mess with your brain. Your mind is thinking it's wood, but then when it tips sideways, because being on a steel track, it can, your brain freaks out and thinks, oh no, I'm gonna die. Which, in my book, is an excellent thought to have when riding a roller coaster. Roller coasters are an oft-used metaphor for talking about change and the ups and downs of life. Today, I want to open up the metaphor and talk about it in terms of the entire amusement park. Although perhaps we should call it a theme park rather than an amusement park, because change is often not very amusing at all. There's another of these oft-used statements that the only thing certain in life is change. Now, while at times it may seem flippant to say that when one is in the midst of struggling with one or more changes, it is absolutely true that the world seems full of changes in recent times. The constant cultural change and evolution, political changes and challenges in our country and our communities, global climate change, the changes brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course, changes right here within your beloved communities and congregation. Add to that the inevitable changes we face in our lives, our families, and many of our friends. And that makes a lot of change. And sometimes it can seem like one too many, or just one more that we are just not ready to accept yet. I remember when my daughter was younger, I would tease her on her birthdays that I wasn't ready to use her new age yet because I still wanted some more time before she left her last age. I just need another year, I'd say. Well, it was teasing, and she would either laugh or roll her eyes at me, or usually both. It was also true in so many ways. Sometimes it would feel like I was witnessing light speed levels of change in her. There are lots of different ways of thinking about change and talking about change. And I'd like for us to consider one of the classic models for change today, one from popular author William Bridges. He describes 3 phases of emotional processes around change: the ending, the middle or neutral zone, and then the new beginning. So first in this overall change journey is what kicks off the change, which can be something intentional or something unintentional. This can be a lot of different things. On a personal level, a new diagnosis of an illness, the death of someone you care about, or perhaps a new job, a move, a retirement, or so many other possibilities. For an organization, it could be the announcement of the departure of your ministers or a staff member, the end of a favorite event or program, or, as we're in the midst of them, the impacts of a global pandemic. Endings, this announcement of change and the endings that come with it, can be a confusing time, an overwhelming time, and a time that is filled with a variety of emotions. There might be resistance or upset, but there might also be relief or joy if the change is welcome. Grief experts Russell Friedman and John James define loss as the change in or end to a familiar pattern of behaviors. A change in something that is known and familiar. Losing something that is comfortable and comfortably known in exchange for something that we don't know what it'll be yet. And then after the change has kicked off, after that time of ending, there comes the time in between, the neutral zone. It's the unknown time, filled with uncertainty about what will come next and what that might look like. I've heard many times that one of the elements of spiritual maturity is being comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity and the like. Now, I admit that sounds great and all, but if that's really a huge key to spiritual maturity, I'm going to have trouble ever getting to there. I don't like uncertainty. For me, change I'm fine with. It's the not knowing that gets to me. In reality, there is a huge variety of reactions and feelings that folks may have during this in-between time. Low morale, anxiety or uncertainty about one's place and what's going on, maybe even skepticism. But there can also be a lot of energy and enthusiasm and sometimes a literal explosion of new ideas. Folks deal with change and the processes of change in different ways. It is true that change brings about stress. Not that stress is inherently good or bad, though. It can be both. There are actually 2 main types of stress. There is distress, the stress that's harder on us, and the other one is called eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress. And that's the other side, the exciting change energy. Let's go back to the theme park. There are folks who love theme parks and the rides and the crazy things that they put their bodies through. And there are folks who definitely aren't fans of those crazy things and may not even go to the park in the first place. For some folks, the rides are distressing. For others, they represent eustress and are exciting. And it varies from ride to ride also. I love roller coasters, but there are some rides that I won't go anywhere near. The ones that swing you back and forth, and the spinny ones. On the other hand, my daughter loves both of those kind of rides, but is less keen on roller coasters. Something that is exciting for one person may be stressful for another. Change is like that in many ways. It is usually hard to let go of what is familiar in favor of what is unknown, and there is often grief involved, even though, of course, it may look different for different folks. Sometimes it does take being gentle with yourself or with others, knowing that there may be some folks who have difficulty letting go of what has been, or may have mixed feelings about this next part of the journey. As a church community, we are made up of many different folks, from those who have been here for many, many years to those who have only just peeked in. But another feature of this in-between time is the possibility for building energy and excitement as you imagine what might be ahead. Now, for coaster fans, it's not just the nearly endless list of different coasters to try. There are also the Holy Grails. Now, you can possibly guess that one of these is being on a coaster when it breaks down. Now, I admit I'm not sure why this is such a thing, but apparently it is some sort of rite of passage, like you're not a real roller coaster fanatic until this has happened to you. And yes, I've been there. I've gotten that. Although it was admittedly totally non-exciting since we had only gone about 2 feet from the starting point. And we were then stuck in that exact same position for 30 minutes. Although maybe there is a metaphor that we can get from all of this, because wouldn't it be great to be part of a church or part of a culture that celebrates failure, that celebrates the times we mess up and don't hit the mark? Let's just think on that. There is often a bit too much perfectionism running around. Now, another of these holy grails, one of these real holy grails of coasterdom, is called a rollback. Remember the coaster I talked about at the beginning? The one that just shoots you straight up over a really tall hill and brings you back down? Well, sometimes on that style coaster, because of some unknown combination of factors, temperature of the tracks, weather, wind, the exact amount of electricity that charges the electromagnetic starters when they fire, who knows what else, for some reason, once in a rare blue moon, the coaster doesn't have enough energy and momentum to make it over the hill. It shoots up there and then stalls in motion on top of the hill before going backwards, back to its starting point. That is a rollback. I've never seen one, but I have talked about them and fantasized about them every time I have been in line for that style coaster. And yes, I've even taken a selfie with the sign that describes them. But they are super rare, at least in the world of coasters. However, it is not all that rare for that sort of thing, for a rollback to happen in real life. We get all ready and set for something to happen, for some project to move forward, for some trip or some event we've been looking forward to. We get all ready and set, and then, for some unknown combination of reasons, we can't get past the first hill. And we return, backwards it seems, back to where we started. Ever been there? Yeah. Now, unlike how we can see the track of a roller coaster or any other sort of theme park ride, not only see the track, but watch other folks go through the ride and see what it will be like. Unlike that, that's not real life. We don't have perfect vision of what's going to happen as we move forward with changes. Another thing that complicates change is when we have more than one change, possibly even many, many different changes that are all overlapping and happening to us seemingly at the same time. How's that for a pretty good description of 2020 so far? It makes me think of one particular design for roller coasters, one particular style of coaster, and that's called the spaghetti coaster. Yes, there are really coasters that are called that, and they look like exactly what you might think of with that kind of name. A spaghetti coaster looks like a pile of cooked spaghetti that has been picked up and dropped all together in a pile. A big, tangled, intermingled pile with the track zipping in and out of the mess, so you're never sure which way you're going to go next. Now, these particular style coasters can be a bit disconcerting because when you're watching it, you don't get to see what's coming up ahead of you. You don't get to see the whole ride since it's hidden in a pile of spaghetti. And when you're on the ride, you can't see what's around the next corner. And sometimes, I'm sure they designed it this way, but sometimes it feels like your head is just inches away from an overhanging piece of track, even though, of course, it isn't. But there is some good news about riding a spaghetti coaster, either metaphorically or in real life. One of the ways that it keeps going through all the twists and turns is that there are speed up points along the way. The ride knows that you'll lose energy and not want to move anywhere to be able to get through the next curve in the road. So it gives you some energy to propel you along. We've got each other as we go about this journey, and we can also find resilience in so many other ways, from unexpected places, from unexpected experiences and interactions with folks, as well as from the wisdom of our own past experiences. And some other good news, no roller coaster is indefinite in length. There will be an ending. There will be a new beginning. The longest coaster in the world is only 7 minutes and 24 seconds long, and most are quite a bit shorter. There is an ending to the ride. There is an ending to the neutral zone, a time when new beginnings are set to emerge. We will get through the change in whatever form it may be, however it may look, in whatever unexpected ways that we might find. There is an ending to the ride when we can get off and get our bearings and see where our road may be taking us next. Unless, of course, there's no one waiting in line and the ride attendant asks if you want to go around again right away. There's that too.
These days of sheltering in place continue to be challenging for all of us in different ways. We hope you have felt the care and support of this community. And if you're joining us for the first time today, we hope you'll soon come to know what a caring community this is. We also hope those experiencing financial strain or challenges right now will reach out to our minister, Reverend Michelle, who can provide assistance from the minister's discretionary fund. But for those who do have the privilege of enough right now, UUCB needs your gifts now more than ever. Our board and staff are exploring many options to help maintain funding for the ministries and programs we all love. But it is going to take all of us digging deep in whatever way we can to support this congregation through the pandemic. We also hope you will continue to practice generosity, especially with our Good Neighbor organizations. This month, we're sharing half of our offerings with the Diverse Housing Working Group to support the good work they do in our wider community. The Diverse Housing Working Group, DHWG, is a community-based effort to engage and educate local organizations and individuals about the need for additional diverse housing resources in Albany. They recognize that a strong community includes people from all walks of life and income levels. The video following the offering invitation, made by members Beth and Jim Beller, will give you a better sense of the organization. Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're Beth and Jim Beller, and we're here to talk to you about Albany's Diverse Housing Working Group. DOG is a social justice advocacy and action group formed in 2014 when a community of unhoused people was cleared from the Albany Bulb to create a regional park. Jim is going to summarize some of our projects.
Without the support of the city government, former Mayor Alan Maris convinced the Satellite Affordable Housing Associates to plan a 66-unit low-income housing development. This project has since gained the support of the City Council and is moving forward. Alan also proposed a community resource center which has evolved into Albany Cares, which is the city's main interface between people who need services and the services available. Margie Marks initiated a rent review board, which is still operating. County Supervisor Carson recruited us to participate in the Complete Count Committee for the census. And Jim Aycock has, of course, tirelessly supported Youth Spirit Artworks Tiny House Village. Dog members are participating in Town Hall and Social and Economic Justice Commission meetings to promote our original goals of diversity and social justice, most recently joining with the Giltrap community to repair racist acts of vandalism to the signage at the farm. Our most notable long-term project has been the weekly free shower project at the Albany Aquatic Center that ran from February of 2016 until we had to suspend operations over the COVID-19 pandemic. The showers and our outreach with sandwiches and water enabled us to learn from many people about their lives, and even helped us bring some characterized as self-service resistant into housing or other services. We plan to reopen our shower program as soon as we get approval for our COVID mitigation plan from the County Health Department. We are aware of new limitations on our services and new expenses for PPE, cleaning supplies, and extra janitorial charges.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention and your kind consideration.
The nightingale has a lyre of gold, the lark is a clarion call, and the blackbird plays but a boxwood flute. But I love him best of all, for the song is all of the joy of life, and we in the mad spring weather, we still have listened till he sang our hearts and lips
Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It is so good to be together in praise and song, even virtually. Before we shift to our virtual coffee hour on Zoom, I'd like to encourage you to stay informed about and involved in all that's going on in our congregation by exploring our website, uucb.org. Among other things, you can find a link in News to the Week Ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which contains a nice list of upcoming activities. As we prepare to leave the worship service, here are a few important announcements. Vespers has moved slightly earlier so that we can visit beforehand and move on to our evening activities, not just refreshed and inspired, but on time. We hope you can join us each Wednesday from 6:20 to 6:50. Second, there is still time to contribute your images and videos of sacred water for the water service next Sunday. Please send them by September 9th to uucbwater@gmail.com. And last, personal theology will be resuming Sunday, September 13th from 9:30 to 10:30 via Zoom. Our first speaker will be Dr. Karen Voorhees, UUCB member and writer. Her topic is My Reasons for Hope in a Dark Time. Please see the week ahead for Zoom info. Now, please join in singing our closing song, Love Will Guide Us. It's number 131 in the Gray Hymnal, if you have one at home.
And now we go out from here to share ourselves with the world. May its promise and complexity set your mind ablaze. May you hold fast to what your life has taught you. May you question everything. And when you have changed the world and the world has changed you, may you return again, returning to this community of love, and share what you have learned with us. And as you go, remember, you're never all alone. Blessed be.